And welcome everybody to another episode of Mac Yak. We're coming to you on a different day. Normally we do Thursday nights, but tonight is a very special day. We are doing a Monday night show. And as you can guess, we are going to review WWDC and all its, how shall we say it, boringness?
Glory.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
glory. There we go. Okay. Um, I wouldn't call it any glory. I think it was a yawn fest. I listened to it while I
Yeah.
was at work, and I was going to watch it again when I got home. But after I listened to it at work, I was like, there's no need for me to watch it while I'm at home. It's just going to put me more to sleep. So
Yeah.
I went ahead and
I agree.
did that. So, but anyways, how you guys been doing the last few days since we just met? Like what, 4 days ago?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Feels like it
Doing
was
all
just a few days ago.
And I believe Bruce, you were up all night
I did.
watching.
I did get a couple of hours sleep, so I guess better than nothing. But I'm certainly not well rested. So
There you go.
yes, and I was not
Was
rewarded
it
either.
worth it though? Was
No.
it worth it for WWDC 20?
Look, it was worth it to be informed for this show. Was it worth it for what we got? No.
Yeah. So before we start off well, actually we'll do that at the end of the show. But I was going to ask everybody what your favorite thing and worst thing about it was, but we'll wait till after since we can start talking about all the stuff. If you guys notice that there's a big black square in the middle of the thing there, we're going to basically
I
bring
have
up.
not noticed.
Yeah, you've noticed. There is. We're going to bring up my browser up here in a second, and we're going to start talking about certain things. And as we talk about them, we're going to be live, going through it live on my Safari browser here. So I think Jay had a good idea doing that, and I think it's going to work out pretty good actually. So, anyways, I guess we could go ahead and get started right in it. What do you guys think?
I'm
good.
up for it.
All right.
He's a traitor.
Huh? All right.
I mean that playfully.
Yeah. So the very first thing, iOS 14. What do we think about
Yeah.
it first off the bat?
Very simply put, they're finally getting in alignment with what Android and when Microsoft had their own phone OS, already was doing. It's just kind of let's copy everybody else, what everybody else used to do to Apple. Not
Yeah.
impressive.
I mean, I guess there's been
Finally
people
doing
have
what they
been.
did 5 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, people have been complaining about not being able to put, sort of widgets and stuff on their home screen, and now they can.
Well,
So,
but it's still not customizable. It's still not the customization that a lot of people
Yeah.
have wanted. I mean,
it's Apple's version of customization.
well, yeah,
Yeah.
it's what Apple lets you
It's
customize.
not going to be
Yeah.
anywhere near as customizable as an Android phone or even an old Windows phone was.
True.
But I think it's funny because the first thing that popped in my head when I watched the whole thing with the widgets and everything was my old Windows phone, which I loved.
Yeah.
That thing was awesome.
So, first off, let's talk about the widgets. It says redesigned widgets have been redesigned to be more beautiful and data rich so they can provide even more utility. Now, I listened to most of it. I didn't watch most. I saw some of it, and I looked at first thing I saw when I saw that phone with the widgets. All I thought about was, oh God, it's looking like Android. That's what my first thought was, and I was like, why? Why do you have to copy someone else? Why couldn't you figure out something new to do?
Well, Apple doesn't innovate.
No,
Haven't
well,
for years.
that
So
is
might as well
true.
start stealing stuff.
Well, everybody's like,
I'm looking forward to the widgets. I think it's cool to have widgets in between my apps on the various screens. I think it'll be useful. Looking forward to it.
so I mean,
I would agree with that.
yeah, and like Rocky said,
would too.
that everybody was stealing from Apple for the longest time. Now Apple's finally stealing from other people. So,
Yeah.
uh,
They're
Fine.
at
Speaking
corporate. They're
finally.
thinking like, oh, we haven't innovated, or we've been innovating so long, we could do the next decade without and just steal stuff back from others.
yeah. Um, so some of the things they got here are widgets for on the home screen, widgets in different sizes, widget gallery, widget stacks. I mean, I'm just looking at some of the stuff here. Smart Stack. What about that Smart Stack thing? I saw them do a demo of that. I didn't. I don't know about that too much, but
Yeah, time
is
will
that
tell.
is that a version of Stacks for like Catalina had?
I think based on your behaviors and how you use your phone, it puts the widgets that you use the most in one place.
So I think he said the most used, sort of they're the biggest there, and then the most recently added next to it or something
Well, that's
like
going to
that.
make it
So,
more difficult to find the shit because I'm just so used to putting it in
Yeah.
folders, and I have it in certain folders. I know where to go get them. I know where to go to get my apps. But if it
Yes.
starts
So
moving stuff
okay.
around, I'm going to be like, where the hell did it move it to?
So just putting forward a theoretical question, how would you feel about, say, for example, being able to alphabetize your thumbnails?
That actually,
I love it.
I love that one. Yes,
That'd be a good
That'd be
idea.
nice.
Okay.
that
So I have
I
to
kind of
say
like.
that
We didn't get
clip-
that.
No,
Once again, you're talking about a feature that Microsoft had out in Windows Phone 8 years ago.
yeah, that's true. I mean,
They,
Yeah.
none of this is truthfully new to some people. It's just a very, very 0.2% of the population of us who actually use the Windows Phone.
yeah. And I'm looking at the chat here. Alien Tech is getting way ahead of himself there. We will get to that Alien Tech later on. So hold on.
Yeah, that comes at the end.
Yes.
Yeah, about 3 hours from now we'll get around to that.
Yeah, we got to break down everything that happened during the keynote, but to be honest with you, not a whole lot. So
But
Now-
apart from features, did we expect new hardware to show up today? I kind of expected the next phone.
Yeah, I
did
did
too.
to be honest with you.
I did too,
I
for the
I
phone.
truthfully expect them to announce a new Mac with the new processors. But
Yeah, me too.
it looks like
That'd be
the
nice.
only thing that we got is a crappy 2018 Mac Mini that now runs a different processor.
Yep. Well, we'll get to that in a little
So-
bit, guys.
so they
We're
say.
jumping ahead now.
But thinking about the phone stuff, there's one thing that I do like, and I think it will be very useful. It's not really innovative because, like we've said, it's something stole from somewhere else. But the app clips, that I could see being useful. Being able to QR code, take a chunk of an app, and be able to run it. That's not having to download the full stupid app. That'd be very nice.
Yep. What about the app library? This is something new in iOS here. I don't know a lot about this.
I kind of saw that as stacks for iOS. Kind of sorting all your apps for you
Yeah.
in different categories and stuff.
Yeah.
I foresee some issues with it because I've tested where the Mac or the phone keeps track of how much time you spend where, screen time.
Yeah.
And there's so many apps that it is unable to categorize, or it just puts it in the wrong category, that I feel if I enable the stacks for iOS, that it's going to put some apps completely in the wrong categories, and I don't think there's going to be much flexibility to it.
Oh, I agree with
It's
you
either on
there.
or off.
I totally agree with you there. So, I mean, like I was just reading through some of the stuff here. Search, you can use the search bar now. So they actually have a search feature, which is hopefully a little bit better.
Yeah, but doesn't that already... That's how I find apps now.
I just asked Siri, hey, open whatever.
Yeah,
Ah,
make her do the heavy lifting.
Exactly.
I like that Siri for the translation, or not translation, excuse me, the dictation, that it's going to be local, because I know personally I've run into an issue where I wasn't somewhere where my internet was really great and my dictation didn't want to work. So I'm kind of excited about that. That's probably the one feature that I really am looking forward to, because I use dictation quite frequently, surprisingly enough.
Well, actually, especially when you're doing a text or something, because I've had it where you have enough cell service to get a text out, but yet not enough to get Siri to actually hear what you're talking about and fill in the blank there. So hopefully that will fix that problem, so you can actually send a text without relying on it going to a server and then back again. Because I've had it before
I
where
agree.
I'll sit there and say, "Hey Siri, text so and so," and okay, I'm looking at my phone, making sure she didn't do anything, because, but and then I'll start reading off what I wanted to say, and then all of a sudden it comes back and says, "I'm sorry, but I don't have internet connectivity or something, of that nature right now, or no data connection." So it just that irritates me more than anything. So, Rocky, if
Right.
that's the case, that's probably one feature I will love, the local dictation.
Well,
Well, now I don't know. Go ahead. Sorry.
they already have basic local dictation, but it only goes so far in 13.
Well,
It works when it wants to work.
I understand that. It never actually works for me because it always has to go to the server and find stuff, so. But
And I'm thinking about, like, I use that little the little microphone button when I'm in, I'm typing something. I open up a text. I will hit that microphone and I will say what I want, and then maybe modify it as needed.
yeah.
So it'll be very nice having that locally instead of having to have it phone home first.
Huh. Okay, this is something I don't know if I heard about this in the keynote. Third-party VoIP calls. It says a developer API is available.
They covered it briefly. Instead of your whole screen blacking out with accept or deny buttons for a call, you just get a little banner up top of your screen. It's pretty. I'm actually looking forward to that because I'll be
I am too.
typing something and
All of a sudden it goes full screen. Yeah.
yeah, and there's not a few seconds, but almost a whole second delay where your phone kind of freezes because a call is incoming, and then it shows you the call, and you're typing, and yeah, I much prefer a little banner up top so I could just keep focusing on what I'm doing.
Especially if you're typing at a time and you hit you see it's a call you don't want to take, like a scammer or something, and you hit the answer.
Yeah, been there. Beep.
Done that.
Been there too.
That is going to be nice. So it's basically going to be a feature that will be like what Message does right now, where it pops up that little banner.
Yeah.
And I don't know why they had to say third-party VoIP calls with something special included in that, because honestly, those are tied in with the regular phone calls anyway. They use the same, generic setup and all of that.
But
so
I think
that's
this
kind of just them trying to hype up.
No, I think what this API is going to do is allow people to use third-party calling apps, so it actually links into the OS more. Because, for instance, right
They
now,
already do that.
no, it doesn't.
Skype does it.
Not really.
Yeah, it does.
Skype
With
actually
Teams
uses push
and
Skype's
notifications.
like one of the only ones that does, and it's not even fully integrated.
Yeah, it's not fully integrated. That's what I'm saying, is you have to actually have the app running in the background, or at least, because if you swipe up and it's gone, you don't get any calls in. I won't get any Skype stuff in until
I don't have that with Skype.
Yeah.
Like when you started the call for this show, I just restarted my phone this afternoon. All the apps were off, and Skype still popped up.
No.
Yeah.
You restarted your phone, but the app was still open in the background.
No, app was off. I always quit all my
Oh,
apps.
okay.
before
My
I
app's
restart.
never open for it.
Mine never opens
Skype,
unless
maybe
I have
Skype
it.
has a special deal with Apple
Well,
because it's such a popular.
It is Microsoft,
platform.
so
Oh,
Well,
they were
and-
talking up Microsoft.
yeah.
You guys have to remember there's other things besides Skype too. I mean, there's professional voice over IP applications. I personally have an Avaya application for my phone system at work where I can actually use my phone system at work on my cell phone.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
But now I have to actually have that. I have to have that running on my phone. It's not like right now, if my phone rings at work, it's not going to ring my phone because I don't have the app on.
Yeah.
But now with this update, I'm assuming that that's the kind of stuff they're talking about, where it could be integrated into the regular phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You and your assumptions.
Well, I assume I have a 6S. I'm assuming anything's going to work at all.
Hey, at least iOS
It
That's a
14
very
will,
that's a very big assumption.
at least iOS 14 support on your 6S. So
I am actually terribly surprised. I
am
figured
too.
13 would be the last one. I mean, my phone is 4 years old, for crying out loud. But it also was one of the most popular phones they ever sold.
Yeah.
So that
Yeah,
might have
true.
something to do with it.
And
There's-
by the way,
there's still
iOS
millions of them
14
out
goes
there.
back all the way to the 6S. 6S, the SE, they are supported for
yeah.
iOS 14.
Fair enough.
So,
So also we got picture-in-picture, so you continue watching
I
video while taking
like
a
that.
FaceTime call.
The thing is,
I could see that.
I wonder if it's going to work on the 6S and the SE first gen.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, it may
Yeah.
not
I've
have
got
the
a 7, so we'll see if it works on that.
It-
I'm going to say something
yeah.
like that would definitely push the boundaries.
of
Push
the
the
horsepower. Yeah,
processing
you,
Starts
power.
glowing red hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my phone already glows red hot when I use something like Skype or FaceTime. Trust me.
so
I don't know about picture-in-picture. Maybe it might only be available for the Plus models and the Max models. I don't see it of any benefit to me on a regular size phone, but I don't know.
Yeah.
but you could also resize the picture-in-picture window. That's something that's not Apple-ish. Come on, Apple never lets you resize stuff.
That's very true.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking forward to that picture in a picture. That's something that I'm really looking
And
forward to.
moving your
Actually, 'cause
picture-in-picture window to any
Yeah.
corner,
Ooh.
that's not
4
Apple-ish
options.
that's gonna be nice.
either. Usually Apple only gives you one option.
Well, when you're on a FaceTime call, you can move your own window around.
Well, true.
Maybe.
All right. Next thing in the list here, search. So, not a whole lot about
nothing new
that.
there.
Yeah, nothing new. All right, messages. All right, so
Yes.
this is where it's actually
Now
getting,
we can talk.
yeah, it's getting a little better. Messages, pinned conversations. I like that. I like that I can finally pin a conversation to the top of the screen because, for instance, all of us here in MacYac, we have a MacYac iMessage chat group that we talk a lot about the show and stuff like that, and also other things too. But it would be nice to have that pinned up to the top because although that actually stays up at the top of mine most of the time because we're always yakking in there.
We're always yakking.
It's usually there.
Yeah, but I like the idea of being able to pin something to the top. So I think that's going to be a very useful feature.
Hmm.
Absolutely, I agree.
And you
Now,
could
the
have
one-
up
I
to,
like
one
that you
I'm
can
really
customize
excited-
the image and stuff.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
No,
Mike.
I was going to say
I
you
can
can have up
barely
to
hear
9
you.
pins.
Sorry. I was going to say the one that I'm really excited about is that inline replies.
Yeah, me
Because
too.
one of the reasons I don't talk to you guys in the group chat is because when I want to, it takes me an hour or two to see something sometimes.
What are
And
the
if
other
I want,
reasons?
I want to reply to something that you guys wrote 2 hours ago. I mean, I can say,
Yeah.
"Oh yeah, that's pretty cool," and you guys have no freaking idea what I'm talking about.
Yeah, gotta
Yeah.
keep up, man. 5 a.m., 2 p.m. doesn't matter. It's always there.
Yeah, I have the same problem being in a
Some of
different.
us have jobs where we can't exactly use our phones every 5 seconds.
Yeah, I have the same problem being in a different time zone. I wake up in the morning, I check my messages, and I see this huge list of messages from you guys that have been going on right through the night. And I see something from 2 or 3 hours ago. It's like, I'd like to reply to that, but it's too late. Everyone's forgotten about that.
That's
So yeah, I think inline replies is
Yeah.
fantastic.
mentions, direct message to an individual in a group conversation, but type person's name. I like that.
That's pretty cool too. Yeah.
So you can tag people basically.
Basically, yeah, it's almost like tagging people like in Discord when you tag somebody and they get a notification. So,
Yeah, right now,
Group,
every once in a while, my computer will pop up says you've been mentioned in this chat. And truthfully, that's about the only time I check the chat on a regular basis when it pops up on my screen and says you've been mentioned in MacYac chat or whatever. I can't remember. I say okay, and I go back, and you guys aren't talking about me anyway.
oh, and we could actually set a group photo. Jay, get to work on that.
All right, on it.
Yeah, I like that idea. I
Uh,
don't know how I feel about it. It'll show who talked most recently in that little, bubble garbage. I'm not sure how I feel about that. I mean, that's fluff. I mean, it's like,
Well, yeah,
that's cute and adorable, and who cares?
yeah, I agree with you. All right, next up on the list here, memojis. Who cares, really?
Yeah.
Need something for the youngsters.
I was going to say.
Next.
All right, maps.
Yeah,
I am
it
excited
took
about
us
the
10 years,
cycling
but
we
maps.
finally won't get you lost anymore.
Well, yeah, I'm hoping that just because they added all these features that they still won't get you lost because believe it or not, I still use Waze over Apple Maps because Waze is
I do
much
too.
better.
Well, I use Google Maps, but it's the same thing.
Oh, how
Maybe
dare
I'm
you.
lucky that I've always lived in areas that have been kept up in Apple Maps. Never have an issue with it, and I'm excited about the cycling because I love to ride a bike not in the high summer because it's too damn hot, but the rest of the year I love bike riding. And if this has the bike routes, if there's a bike lane available, what the incline is, if you have to
Uh-huh.
get off the bike to walk. I'm gonna like that.
Well, one of the things I've never liked, and it's probably still not fixed in maps because I didn't see it in here, is like in Waze, you see a 3D version of the map. In other words, it looks like you're looking out into a distance, you know, and you can see
Mhm.
the horizon and everything. Well, in Apple Maps, it's always flat, 2D. You know, you're seeing the top-down view no matter what. Uh, and that's the difference between the two. I'd rather see something where I could see off in the distance. Oh yeah, I got to make a right-hand turn up here. Well, hell, you can't see that until you actually get almost to that point on Apple Maps, and usually it's doesn't tell you to turn until you're like almost right on top of the turn.
Yeah.
You're
It's
not
not
wrong.
related to this, but I do find that I didn't even know that was an option. Ever since I have the watch, it's where the watch starts vibrating
Uh-huh.
when your turn is coming
And
up,
you'll
or
hear
you
go
have to
deet deet
go to a
deet
different
deet
lane.
like a blinker.
That's really cool. Yeah.
Yep.
But I think my what was it? Not Belkin, Garmin had a GPS before the iPhone kind of took over, and it had the same thing. You see a little icon of your car, and then you can kind of see into the distance. It's pretty neat.
So congestion zones. See, this is stuff that's already been done on other mapping apps already, like congestion zones. Waze has done that for years.
Yeah. That's the reason why I use Google Maps for that, because I mean, it's for me it's the one that has the most live traffic input of all of the ones that I've tried.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've been in situations where there's been a car accident and the tunnel's been blocked, and it's stopped me before getting onto the entrance of that tunnel and shown me another way around and saved me huge amounts of time. And sort of that's a fantastic thing to have that real live sort of update stuff. And Apple Maps just isn't there. I mean, it might be one day, but not now.
Oh wow, speed cameras. It's gonna let you know when speed traps are up.
Google Maps does that too.
And so does Waze. Waze has been doing that for years.
I don't have that problem.
That's what I'm saying.
On one hand, I want to say, Apple has not been doing maps as long as others. So I get that they're a little behind. On the other hand, like, you're the richest company on the freaking planet. Throw some R&D resources at it and catch up. So
Yeah.
maybe they're finally
Well,
getting there.
to be honest
I mean,
with you, Waze is not that old. Waze actually is younger than Apple Maps. But it uses Google Maps as its background stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
so
the
they don't do
thing.
their own work.
Huh? But
See, Apple uses MapQuest for their maps.
oh,
They don't
MapQuest.
even- they don't even
That's
make-
why
yeah,
they
they-
suck.
They don't even make their own maps. They use MapQuest.
So that's why they suck then, because MapQuest sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, considering that they're probably still running off of.
Or
you
no,
know,
I'm not. I'm sorry. Not
20-year-old.
MapQuest. TomTom. Why the hell did I say Map?
Yeah.
Oh, TomTom.
TomTom.
Oh, TomTom's dead.
Yeah, they
isn't
use
he?
Tom. They use TomTom.
TomTom's been dead for so long, it's not even funny.
Did Apple buy them?
Probably.
All right, so yeah, speed cameras. Other apps already do that. This is stuff that Apple's just catching up. Okay.
We're talking about features that other ones already have, so it's
Yeah.
hard to get excited by them.
All right.
Now, the
But they
next one,
tried to
I'm
really
very
make us excited about it. They're like, "This is a game changer."
Now,
No, it's
now,
not.
Bruce, the one thing that I did notice on here that I haven't noticed anywhere else, and I could be wrong, is the electric vehicle routing.
Yeah.
That's something I have not seen anywhere else yet.
That's
But
pretty
then
cool.
again, since I don't own an EV, I may be wrong.
Well, Tesla already has that built into their system.
Yep.
In fact, it has the EV charging stations already built into
Well,
the
yeah,
maps.
but they're also using Google Maps too. But
they
you know,
already have that. So why would you
It's
need?
not only that, from what I
yeah, but
understand,
that's only
based
in
on the
their
vehicle
cars,
that you
though.
have,
It's not something I've seen outside of their vehicle.
Oh, I understand that.
whether
but
you have a
it's-
BMW or a Tesla or a Volt or whatever the other brands are, you set it up and it only shows you stations for that car. I think that's pretty cool.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean that'll be nice for people that really like the Apple Maps, because right now they have to use that brand's app on their phone to get that same feature. So
Yeah, I agree with you, but still, the thing is though is that that's already been in other cars' features already. So it's not nothing. Like Bruce said, this is nothing new. This is stuff that Apple is kind of taking from other people and putting it in iOS finally.
Yeah, but when is the last time you watched a keynote and like, Whoa, that is new. I never saw that coming.
2004.
True.
Yeah, it would have been
Yeah, I
early
would say
2000s.
I would agree with Mike on it. Well, actually, at least about
Or
2008.
2005. Whenever they announced the switch from IBM to Intel processors.
Yeah.
Ah, yep. So, all right, translate. Here's the next feature. There's a lot
Very
of features
excited
in here.
about
Are we
that.
going to go through all these features?
No, we're not going to go through all of them.
Because I'm looking at the
translate is
bar
really
over here, and
cool,
I'm like,
though.
I'm not even a quarter of the way down the page.
Yeah.
Uh,
There's a lot in
start
there that
skipping.
doesn't matter at all. But translate is cool. You can, if someone is talking smack about you at an Italian restaurant or something, you just hold the phone up. You're like, oh, okay,
and
that's how you really feel.
I'm going to do this again, Jay, because I have Google Translate on my phone, and it does the same
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, I don't really do Google Apps, so I'm excited about it.
I know, but still, it's already been
Yeah.
done. That's
And
why.
the way
I
they
agree.
demoed it, if you're traveling, you're in the middle of I don't know, Germany, and you're trying to have a conversation, you put the phone sideways, and you could just talk back and forth, and it'll translate on the fly. I think it's pretty cool.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Google Translate does the same exact
I don't
thing.
use Google. I
Yeah.
don't care.
That's the only. That's probably the only
My
Google
phone
app
is getting it now.
That's probably the only Google app I have on my phone because that one works
It
well.
does work.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does.
So, the text translation, blah, supported languages. Okay, Siri. So now Siri's going to be a little dot on the bottom versus a full screen like she is now.
Took them
New-
long enough to implement that.
Yeah.
So you mean
New
kinda like
design, same old Siri.
Yeah.
I'll believe it when I
like
see it.
Cortana was on the Windows phone. Next.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, skim.
It's nothing.
Let's see. Home. Okay, I'm not anybody interested in the home stuff because I don't deal with that stuff. I don't use it.
I was literally dozing off when they went through the home stuff.
hmm
Yeah.
Safari.
I mean, your
Yeah.
phone automatically sitting there doing that stuff. Oh, it's gonna balance my lighting for that time of day. I
Yeah.
don't care. I don't even balance it myself. It doesn't
My-
matter.
My
It's
home
like,
is
come
done
on,
with
my room
car,
is too
so-
blue. What's going on here?
Yeah.
My house is just as smart as a hut they lived in 400,000 years ago. It's just more wind and waterproof, and just the way I like it.
All right. So I
Yeah,
skipped
but
Safari.
you have a
because-
Nest, don't you?
Yeah,
Well,
until it breaks down.
yeah, it makes it a little smarter.
So wait a whoa.
Nah.
You said you got a Nest in your home, Jay?
Unfortunately,
You have
yeah, I
Google
bought it.
Nest.
I bought it before Google bought them out,
Oh.
and I wasn't about to spend another $300 on a service.
Well, now that Nest requires you to sign in your Google account to use and access the thermostat, I haven't been able to access my thermostat for over a month now, and I can't even change anything to log in.
So the next new feature, I skipped over Safari because I thought it was a lot of the boring stuff in that. I don't know.
It's pretty lame. I mean, the password monitoring. If you have one password, I don't know if others do it. They partnered up with services that monitor data
Yeah.
dumps and all that stuff. So
What about
You
car
know.
keys?
This is
Oh,
the
hackers
dumbest
are gonna
freaking thing in the
love
I was
world.
gonna say that's
Oh, yeah.
that's gonna be a bad thing. I think.
Oh yeah, let's add your electronic car key to the most stolen device in the world. So not only can they steal your $1,500 iPhone, but they can steal your $50,000 car at the same
Well,
time.
here's the thing.
And your credit card.
Oh yeah, and your credit. Well, actually no, your credit card they can't use though.
So
They got to have either your Face ID or your fingerprint. But with the card keys,
they can
all
take
you
your
have
phone,
to have is the phone.
and you
don't
have
to do
you have
anything.
to basically it says by placing your iPhone on a reader or wireless charger inside the car. So it's probably using NFC technology
Yeah.
for this.
So you
It
don't
is.
actually have to log into your
No,
phone.
you don't.
To use that.
That's
Nope.
dangerous. I think that's a bad thing.
That's
I'm,
yeah.
I'm never going to be able to afford a car that has that, so I don't care.
Well, the problem is even lower nowadays. Even lower end cars are coming with push to start.
Yeah,
I mean, I see Toyota Corollas coming to work that have push to start now.
both my
you know?
vehicles have push to start. I mean, you have to have the key fob inside the vehicle in order for it to start.
Yeah.
But like Jay said, the hackers are going to have field day with this.
I mean, it's they've had, I forgot the brand name, but there's a lock for your house that does the same thing. You can share the key, and it works the same way. You hold your phone up to the lock, it unlocks the door for you.
Yeah.
That has been hacked so many times. It's not. I don't know why it's still on the market. So, okay, access to your home, not ideal. Drive away with a $100,000 car, which is probably the base model that's going to support this. Yeah, big bummer. So good luck. I won't be testing it.
And then even when your iPhone battery runs low, you'll be able to access and start your vehicle for up to 5 hours, blah, blah, blah.
Wouldn't that be awesome? Your battery runs out, you're standing there. Sorry, can't start your car.
Yeah.
CarPlay. The one cool thing I think about CarPlay is the wallpaper. That's about it. Other than
I
that,
honestly,
That is so useless.
I put CarPlay in my Excursion because I thought it was really neat, and I love it for sure.
well, I have CarPlay in
Well,
my Camaro, so
I don't really care about the wallpaper. It's just to play music and look up my GPS.
You can't look at it anyway. You'll freaking crash. So what's the point of a wallpaper?
You'll crash
I don't
without
get it.
looking at it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I'd be interested because my wife's car has CarPlay. I put a radio in her car that has it. It's actually awesome.
Now
And
you
she's
scrolled.
she's the one that doesn't have an iPhone.
yeah.
You scrolled past the AirPods,
Because I
and
thought
while I will never use them myself, I hate them. I thought it's pretty cool the tricks they're using to have this surround sound, regardless of how you move your head. It's pretty neat. You got to give them that.
I got to give them that, yes. But to be honest with you, I think it's just going to be another set of AirPod Pros. It's going to cost about $350 versus $250.
Oh
right
yeah,
now.
I'll never have any.
Yeah.
I don't care for it.
I mean, I have the second gen AirPods, which suit me fine. I don't need anything more expensive than that. But yeah. So battery
oh, and
notifications.
on the car key thing, what was that? They're gonna make it backwards compatible with iOS 13.
Yes.
There were one or two features that they were bringing to iOS 13 as well.
Yep.
So, not bad.
Why?
App clips. I didn't hear too much about this. I was listening to it at work, like I said. What is this app clips?
As far as I gather, it's just a suggestion. You show up at Starbucks, and your phone recommends the Starbucks app or
And
customer.
it also, from what I understand, it downloads a small bit of the app so you can get some of the features you would need to check out and do whatever without downloading
Gotcha.
the whole app.
Gotcha.
It's a small clip of the app, and that's
Yeah.
like Rudy said, and they'll have little either devices that your phone will detect like Apple Pay does, or they're going to have a barcode that you're going to be able to read and have it pop up. So it's a nice feature. I think it's great because there is a lot of apps that you wind up downloading the whole stupid app for one thing, and you're like, well, I only shopped there once. I don't care about it now.
Yep.
You know?
Privacy. This is a big one. I think we've talked about a lot.
Yeah, it's at the end of the day, we don't know what they're doing, so it's all open to interpretation.
Exactly.
Yep.
That's the way I see it.
I think they're trying to get more people to go with the sign-in through Apple. You know, the one-stop sign-in for other apps and stuff. Which
Have any of us tested that yet? I completely
No.
forgot
I've
about
never
it. till they
tried it.
I've
mentioned
never
it.
tried it either. So
But I figure that companies that have that have to pay royalties to Apple. So Apple's making money.
It's a good point.
But now, I also, from what I understand, that Apple's going to start forcing some of the developers to make them use the Apple sign-in. I could be wrong, but that was
I didn't
something
hear
I
anything
had
about
heard.
that.
I had heard that in the past.
I'm trying to look at some of the stuff here. Apple Arcade. A lot of the stuff is kind of. I don't know if we even really want to talk about it. I mean, augmented.
I mean, it's there's a lot of information, and it'll probably get updated before
And
iOS 14
fast
is
forward-
dropped. But
After the app clips, I fast forwarded to the iPadOS thing.
Yeah.
Because there truthfully didn't seem to be much else that was terribly interesting to
No.
me with my antique iPhone 6s Plus. So, like I said, I'll be lucky if I can even run any of this stuff decently.
Yeah.
Wait, did they even talk about the APFS encrypted drive support?
no,
That's actually kind of nice. They should have talked about that.
And something they could have really, at least mentioned is the shitty FaceTime quality that they're finally improving. If you're on a FaceTime call, the quality is usually garbage.
Yeah.
And it looks like they're finally gonna support up to 1080p resolution. It could still be garbage.
Well,
Brock's in the chat. Can we roast him?
oh yeah, let's Brock.
He said he just installed iOS 14 on his iPhone 10.
Well, we're gonna roast him when we get to that section.
Okay.
Oh, go lightly on them, guys.
Now, who is
That is
excited
lightly
about Apple's implementation of sleep tracking?
Oh, not really.
Yeah,
I
I don't
have
even
an app
care.
already that I use.
Hi, Steve.
Hello.
Hey,
Stephen,
finally he
Steve.
arrived.
Well, let
About
me
time you
get
showed
Steve
up.
in here.
I went long. Sorry.
Hold on, I got to get you in here.
I'm not here.
right.
What are you talking about?
To be honest, we have just been going over the boring stuff anyway.
Oh, good.
Yeah, right. iOS 14. Everybody, bring out your pillows.
Yeah. Truthfully, we're taking way too long on the iOS part.
Yeah.
We're
Well,
dragging
don't worry,
it out.
because iPad is just a copy and paste.
Yeah, well,
Right.
more or less. I mean, there's a couple of things, but
All right, there we go. We got Steve in there now.
Sad Max Steve.
Yay.
There
You
you
still
go.
have a sad back on him. There you go. All right.
Now,
Hey,
I feel suddenly less
noticed.
sad.
I just noticed your lamps behind you. That's awesome, man.
dude,
Yeah,
you didn't
I
see
did
that
some
in
serious desk cleaning.
Yeah.
yeah, he cleans his desk off for Ken, but he doesn't clean it
I
off for us.
know. What is up with that? Oh man, we're roasting
He
Steve.
doesn't
He
even-
faced the other way.
He doesn't even clean it off when I go over to his house.
Ooh.
Yeah, but you like to tinker and rummage, so it's all right.
All right, guys.
His
So
basement's like a minefield.
last thing on the iOS, the
The
customized
camera's not
sleep.
pointed at my feet for a reason.
So does anybody understand how the sleep stuff's going to work? Except I know that the way it works now, it uses the Apple Watch. Okay, you have to wear it at
Well,
night.
How will it work on the phone, though?
That I don't know.
It's supposed to
It already
dim
does.
and then give you a message so that it suggests to you your stuff that you set to tie in with what you want to do before bed. Whether it be you want to watch some yoga channel or you want to hear some music or I don't know what you do. So it's supposed to do that, dim your phone, give you kind of a heads up. I mean, personally to me, I never use that sleep stuff anyway. I'm like, I don't need my phone telling me to go to bed. I already know. I get tired, I'm old.
Well, I don't use the sleep stuff, but I use the sleep tracking data. I mean, and Jay has used it
Yeah.
too. And it actually is pretty neat to know how much restful sleep I'm getting at night and how
Yeah,
deep my
but
sleep
they
is.
said in the keynote you can use the sleep tracking data on your phone without the watch. How
Yes.
are they going to do that?
Because a lot of people
good
sleep
question.
with their phone next to them or on their pillow.
But
or
that doesn't
under
help
the
you because
pillow.
if it's on your pillow, it's not doing anything. The reason why it's the watch,
Yeah,
because
no, it does. It does. Well, hold on. It does work because even though your phone might be on airplane mode, or hopefully people do that when they sleep with it on their pillow, the sensors are still there. If that sleep tracking is running, it can tell when you're tossing and turning. It can tell, certain things. Not as effectively as a watch that's on you, but the phone, the sleep app that I use, it uses both. Now, my phone is on airplane mode on a nightstand, so it doesn't use any of the phone sensor data, but it can work with both the watch and the phone together.
yeah.
Yeah, don't forget, the phone and the watch have a lot of similar sensors in there, so it may not be as accurate as Jay's
Well-
saying, but you will get some type of reading.
Not necessarily because
I
the watch.
said
yeah.
some.
Because
like the
sleep app.
accelerometer
Well,
and
the sleep
all
app
that
I
stuff.
use actually monitors my heartbeat at night. Okay.
Well, yeah, the phone
And,
can't do that.
It actually.
Just duct tape it to your chest.
Yeah.
Let's hope that's where you're duct taping it to. I don't know.
Oh man. So is there anything else we want to talk about iOS before we move on to iPad?
Nothing really comes to mind.
I just want to say the same thing I said on the previous show I was on. I just sincerely hope that you are able to search a particular conversation and messages for keywords. I don't know if they have that on that checkerboard of a text bomb that they had in the back of the slide, but they said they improved search. I hope they could do that, because if I select one of you guys, let's say I select Bruce and I wanted to search for, Macintosh Color Classic, because I knew he sent me a picture 3 months ago, and right after he said that, the picture is going to be there or a link is going to be there or something. I want to be able to search for that. Right now, I have to go into messages, search every single conversation, and I talk a lot about old Mac crap, so there's going to be a lot of different things in there. But I can't search for just Bruce's conversation. So hopefully that makes that change is coming.
Yeah. What I have on the screen now is basically all the different hardware that iOS 14 will be compatible with. So I'm actually surprised I'm actually surprised they did not rename this iPhone OS. To be honest with you, that was surprising.
I think it's so ingrained that they're just going to leave it. I mean, you think Mac OS, iOS, because you think about the iPod Touch. Yes, it's old, but if they release another one again, I guess.
Well, if you look at this, iOS is available with the iPod.
System. The iPad OS is really just a modification to it.
Yeah.
That's all it really is. It's
an
just
extension of it. Yeah.
It's iOS with specific features for the iPad.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah.
Really.
And we got the Macintosh librarian dropping some knowledge. It used to be called iPhone OS.
Yep.
Yes, it did.
iOS
all the way up to
was a later
4.
addition to it.
Yep. Yeah, up until I think version 4 it was.
Yep, 4.
Yep.
Is that because I had a first gen iPod Touch, and I remember I used to have to pay for updates.
Yeah, $20 for the update.
Yep. No, was it that much?
Yeah, it was $19.99. And
I'm one of the suckers that paid it.
It went to $10.
I just remember because I didn't have an iPhone, I had to pay for updates, which I thought was stupid.
Yeah,
and I know that there was some legal reason they had to charge the iPod users, but I can't remember what it was.
It was because of they said it was some legal agreement because of the way that they hashed it out with the cell phone providers, that the cell phone providers were paying for some legal thing.
Yeah, it was something between them and AT&T, I think.
Yeah, and so who knows what the real cause was, but yeah, just like the 802.11 Draft N, where they charge you $20 to upgrade the firmware of your Wi-Fi chip.
Yeah.
Typical Apple.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to iPad OS now. So some of the new features. Okay, the widgets, pretty much the same. I don't think we're going to have to go over that, correct?
I think the only thing I remember is Scribble. I thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah,
that seems pretty cool.
I don't have an iPad talking up the pen. It was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Apparently, I'm like, whoa.
Yeah. I mean,
I thought we all had 10 styluses when we were born. What happened to that?
Yeah. So here's the Scribble. Handwrite in any text field with Scribble, and you can use the Apple Pencil to handwrite. I want to actually use this because I actually have an iPad with the first gen Apple Pencil because mine's the regular iPad, not the Pro. So mine only works with the first gen iPad or Apple Pencil. So I want to see if that actually works.
And it just breaks your whole flow, I guess, because if you're drawing and then you go to the keyboard, what are you going to do? Like type with the pen? You're like, no, you just want to scribble.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm really excited to be able to write on my iPad with simplified Chinese. That's just awesome.
There you go.
I've always wanted to try that.
You do that, Mike, and I have another.
But I guess I should get an Apple Pencil first.
So Chinese support for Scribble. So basically,
I have an iPad Pro.
Okay.
Tim Cook is
the first gen, the 9.7 inch one.
Tim Cook's catering to the Chinese again, huh? To get them to make their stuff.
Been doing that for a while.
I'm still underwhelmed by Scribble because you know what this is? This is a rebrand of the same stuff that Microsoft issued with OneNote. And they've actually had OneNote on the iPhone and the iPad, and it does a lot of this stuff, if not all of it.
Don't make me bring up the Newton technology. Come on.
There you go.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say, come on. And we go back in time a little bit further.
I think
right here.
I think with
there you go.
It's going to be across the entire. It's going to be across the entire interface, not just OneNote.
Yeah.
I
think that's
instead of just one application doing it. The whole you can do it with anything on the iPad.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that's I think that's the selling point to this is you don't have to stop your flow. You got the pencil in your hand. That's all you need.
Exactly. Yeah. And I think I'm going to like that. I think that's probably one of the major features. Now, this also could be that Apple wants to sell more pencils with their stuff.
Well, it probably is too.
You know.
You have a backlog.
Yeah. It's always
the same thing Pompo did.
Yeah.
Apple sell you a $10 pencil for $100.
No, those pencils.
Right.
That's how they stay in business.
The Apple Pencils 2, I think it's like $150. or something like that. Yeah, just the pencil.
Jeez.
The
That's
original
absurd.
one, the original one's $100.
You know how much stuff I can buy with that money at the recycler?
I know.
And then you could resell it and buy a pencil.
Yeah, good. Now, as far as I know, the rest of iPadOS is exactly the same as iOS. I didn't see any significant
Yeah,
differences.
I'm looking through it now.
Yeah,
Messages.
there really was a
same,
lot.
Emoji.
Yeah,
Now,
The
one
one
thing
thing
that
I
we
do
skipped
like-
over, or we didn't skip over it, but I do want to point it out because it's, at least in my circles, a big deal. One of the FaceTime improvements is that it can recognize when someone is using sign language, and it'll bring them to the front. I think
That's
that's
neat.
pretty damn cool.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of, like, I see this improvement to the OS. There's a lot of these minor little things that just I wish they would have done ages ago. So it's nice
Yeah.
that some of these are finally rising to the surface. I think one of the coolest ones is, when you get a phone call, now the whole screen is not taken up, especially on an iPad. I mean,
Yeah.
Jeez, you get a FaceTime audio call, all of a sudden it's a black screen with two minuscule little buttons. So, that'd be nice to have that change there.
Hey,
Make
Steve.
it easier to do.
Microsoft
Yes, sir.
did that with Windows Phone 10 years ago.
Yeah, well, I'm saying it's nice for them to catch
Yeah.
up with the damn thing.
All
Yeah,
right.
I think
You know what?
WWDC
I don't know-
2020
I know
has to be
everybody
catch up.
here hates- I know you guys all hate Windows, and I hate
Hey, I
Windows
like
too.
Windows.
But I'll tell you what, back in the day when the Nokia Lumias were out, and they ran Windows Phone 7 and 8. Now, 7 wasn't the greatest, but I'll tell you what, 8 and 8.1 were absolutely awesome on the phone. They were horrible on a desktop. They were the worst operating
Yeah.
system I ever saw on a desktop computer. I'll tell you what, you stick that on a phone, and I'll tell you what, that was one of the best phones I ever had in terms of like features and usability.
We'll just have to
Bruce,
take
you're-
your word for it.
Yeah.
So, Bruce, your
So-
nickname for this is the catch-up keynote.
Yeah.
I wish I
that's right,
still
the
had
catch-up
my
video.
Lumia 925. I'd hook it up and make a video just showing
You should do that.
that I don't have it anymore. I got rid of it.
Find one.
Yeah, I mean they're around. They're not hard to find, and they're still usable. So
So if anybody is watching right now, it's showing all the different, and this is actually amazes me that it's still compatible with iPad Air 2.
yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
And
Well,
Gen
it
iPad.
just shows you, these chips that are in there are so powerful that I'm glad that Apple is keeping around the support for it.
But-
and of course, not all these new features will be
I was
available.
going to say,
so-
because I know the iPad, I had an iPad Air 2, and you couldn't do split screen or anything like that
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
it didn't allow. That's
But this will allow you to get newer apps that, let's say, are released on our only iOS 14 only. So
Yeah.
that's why I think they're doing this, because they don't want to piss off the developers. They want to give you as big of a target audience as possible.
yeah.
I'm actually truthfully surprised that they actually are still supporting the first gen iPad Pro. Not that there's anything wrong with it. It's just it's getting dated now.
Well, I
I-
think it's just that the processor they put in there was such a screamer at the time that
Well,
you
it
know-
hasn't. But if I remember, it's an A10X, isn't it?
yeah, so that's faster than I think the Air
It's
2.
The
Yeah,
I think the A10X is
We're
the
on par
same
with it.
one that the 7th generation uses. The
Yeah.
iPad 7th gen,
It's the same thing as an iPhone 7.
probably.
Something
think-
like that. Yeah.
Because I think I have an A9 in my iPhone 6s.
So I think that's what's saving a lot of these
No.
updates.
But I've noticed in the last year that there's some things that are getting a little sluggish on my
Sure.
iPad Pro.
Yeah.
I mean it's 4 years old, but I mean it's still a very usable platform.
Here's the thing about Apple, and I got to give them credit for this. Whereas Android only works on one or two versions work on the hardware that they have, whereas Apple's still supporting stuff that's old. Okay, you got to give Apple some credit for that. They still try to
Oh,
support.
definitely.
older
We still
stuff.
slammed
I-
them like,
yeah,
oh
I
my
think
god,
the
I
most-
can't believe they dropped my 2012 Mac Pro. It's vintage. It's old, dude. I can't blame him for that.
Yeah,
It's-
8
it's more than
years.
capable. But
I'm actually kind of surprised that they dropped the 2012 Mini though.
Well,
to be honest with
we haven't
I'm
got
sure
to
there's
that.
a
We haven't got to
reason.
that.
you. Yeah, no, but I'm just saying in terms of like older hardware. I mean,
You mean the
that
iPad?
was the one. That was actually the only one that was kind of surprising.
Yeah.
But I was very impressed that they're still supporting the iPhone 6s. And
Well,
I mean, you're talking about the iPad Air 2, which is what 6 years old now.
which did you say they stopped supporting? The iPad Mini?
No,
Because
the
the
Mac.
iPad Mini 4 is supported.
No,
oh,
the
I'm sorry, Mac
default
Mini.
Mac
I'm sorry,
Mini.
misheard.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
we'll deal with that when we get to
Yeah,
that.
Steve,
Okay.
or Mike's jumping ahead.
I'm just making a
I
blanket
know.
comment.
I know. All right, so next up is WatchOS. Now I know Jay and
That's
I.
all you guys. I
and-
totally skipped this because I don't own one.
Okay.
All right.
Well,
same here.
I know Steve owns one, but you own the first gen one, so I won't even have this.
No, you keep thinking I have the first gen. I have the third gen.
Third
I keep
gen. Okay.
telling you this.
Never mind.
3.
All right. So basically, this is it looks like they're getting a little bit better on the WatchOS. I kind of a little bit impressed.
I have to admit that I kind of zoned out during this, even though I have an Apple Watch. I didn't hear anything that's like, ooh, maybe perk up.
Well, I think they've responded to your complaint about it having really bright when you look at it during the night.
Well, I'm worried about that. Is that a setting that I can control, or is that only in combination with their sleep tracking? I don't
It
know.
sounded like it was individual.
Their sleep
But-
time or whatever.
So it looks like this update is only for Series 3 and later, just so
Yeah.
everybody knows.
Yeah. So
Yes, it
I
is.
mean,
They added more watch faces. That's what they
now actually they actually made it where I think the way I heard this, now correct me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like they're going to let third-party app developers develop new watch faces finally.
did. Yes.
Finally,
So
after
it's
possible,
5
yeah.
years.
Yeah, they were a little vague in the exact details of
Yeah.
it. And you could share watch faces now, which is neat. So I'm very interested to see exactly how that.
But after
I
5
don't see
years,
any sample faces there with seconds on the digital faces, though.
Bruce.
Just
is-
saying.
Bruce is like,
you
no.
got some angry letters to write, sir.
Yeah, I'll say.
I woke up at 3 a.m. hoping for seconds, and I got
Yeah.
nothing.
More from every app. One app can now offer many complications. So I don't use a lot of now face sharing. This is what I think Rocky was talking about, where you can share your face, watch face, with someone else by just tapping it and sending it as a iMessage to someone.
I don't see a lot of practical
I
use
don't
for
see
that,
that
but it's
either.
neat.
It's just
I could see, like, let's say you have a brother or a family member or somebody. It's like, hey, look, I set this up really cool. Oh, I want the same exact one,
Well,
and you
or
send
if
it to
you-
a friend,
even if
so
you have a
but it's
friend-
limited application, I guess.
Yeah.
yeah. If you have a friend or a coworker or something that sees your watch, oh, that's a cool watch face, man. Let me get that.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I think that's something that's just super easy for them to code. Like, oh, here's the preference file for the watch face. I'm going to airdrop it
Share.
to you. That's a feature. Put it in the release.
It's like when you share an app with somebody else. You're like, oh, this app is great. Here, let me share it with you.
Yeah.
So
Same thing.
they're letting you find faces in the App Store. So that's what I was talking about. They're going to let third-party developers make app faces, which is finally, after 5 flipping years, I've been wanting this.
Well, it says the editorial team has created curated faces for you.
oh,
It doesn't necessarily mean, I don't think, now they were kind of vague about it. I don't know if you're going to get like a release from like Twitter and it's going to have a whole Twitter thing and on your watch face. I have no idea. It seems like Apple in the past few years have been like sort of walking back the way for people to put apps on your watch. I think they're still trying to figure some of that stuff out, but we're in the 7th release of
I think it was a week after I ordered my watch. They took the Nest app
Yep, I
off
hate
the
that.
watch, and I was like, dude, that's the #1 app I was looking forward to.
Yes. I used that, Jay, and I loved it. And then they took it away, and I'm like, what the heck am I supposed to do now? Use my hands? Like
Not to go too far off topic, but can we
Like a
set up
flip.
the home automation to control our Nest? Is that a thing?
Actually, now with their third-party API stuff, yes, you can.
Okay. Cool.
You didn't used to be able to.
Alright.
there you go, Jay. Sleep mode. When you go to bed, your watch automatically turns on Do Not Disturb and keeps your screen from waking.
Yes,
If you have
but
that on.
if I use their sleep method, because I got an app that already does
I
all
know.
this. in the phone.
I have a paid app. I paid for my app that I use. So
Yep.
are they stealing, other app developer
Oh,
stuff
yeah.
to make their
Oh,
own?
yeah. They've been doing that for years.
Yeah.
The whole what's it called when your screen dims as the night?
Oh,
What's it called?
the
Night shift.
night shift. Yeah.
Right, shit.
That's stolen from Flux. Come on.
Yes, it
They
was.
steal everything.
Well, that's the new thing. Remember, that's what we say. This is the Apple keynote for stealing.
Yeah.
At bedtime, let's see. Put your
Copygate.
watch to work before you nod off.
I mean, I'll test it. I'll play around with
Yeah.
it, but I don't think it's going to add anything for
I don't
me.
see these charts. This chart looks kind of lame compared to the one I have in my sleep app. I mean, here, let me pull up my. But I have a sleep app that I actually use it all the time. It's called Sleep Watch, and I haven't used it in a couple of days. But let's see.
This was me today. I slept pretty good.
There's all the different information I get
Yeah.
just on this sleep app, and in the middle right
It's
there you can
just a
see
bunch of blur.
you can see all
It looks
the.
pretty though.
Yeah, it's very pretty, but it's just all blurry.
Well, it's probably because I'm too close to the camera, but that's pretty much.
Take our word for it. It's
Yeah.
cool.
But it shows the 3 different sleep patterns: disrupted, light sleep, and restful sleep. So I don't see that in this little chart they have here, unless that's just a representation they have on here. I don't know if that's going to be what they have or not, but
Like the sleep app I use is good enough
yeah.
to not register every time I freak out when a cat jumps on the bed in the middle of my crotch. And I just spring up, freak out. It doesn't register that. So it's good. I don't know if Apple has that down.
Let's see, wind down, wind up, wind down, assist you in establish a bedtime routine, blah, blah, blah. I think that's what Rocky was talking about, the wind up, wind down thing. Wake
I know
up.
it's time to go to bed when I'm watching TV. I open my eyes and it's 2 episodes later. I know it's time to go to bed.
Says charge and recharge. If your battery level is below 30% in your bedtime, you'll get a reminder to charge. If you charge after waking up, you'll get an iPhone notification when you're at 100%. Oh, that's actually pretty nice. Getting an iPhone notification when you're at 100%.
Yeah, that is quite useful.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's a little useful. I like that. Sleep in the health app. So this is actually going to be integrated in their health app, it looks like.
Yeah.
That's what
Although my app does that too.
yeah.
I never use the health app. I'll be honest with you.
And
I
no
never look
longer
at it.
are they calling these activity rings. They're now fitness rings. That's the new
Oh.
name. I think Jay said something about spent $50,000 on R&D just to rename it.
Yeah, some of it.
I'll take some of that.
But speaking of fitness, if I look even halfway like the people in today's keynote dancing, I will never dance again.
Oh my God, that was terrible.
That was so bad.
Doesn't
was
that
funny.
the little icon look like John Travolta, doing the Saturday Night Live?
It does very much.
As long as they don't try and
This note is
monitor my
back.
dancing.
Yeah, but yeah, they're calling it fitness now, so it's no longer the activity rings.
Which makes sense. I mean, most of the time you're doing that, I guess it is fitness related, but
So you're going to get bike-friendly routes on your watch.
Nice.
yeah, I think the maps update with the cycling stuff is pretty neat. We've seen other map providers do similar stuff,
Yeah.
so I'd be interested to see how well, that actually is integrated into these apps.
You know what's amazing me on this particular information page versus the iPad and iOS? The iPad and iOS didn't have any little, animated.
Well, they did on the main page.
No, I was on the page that you showed me.
Well, I gave the links to the feature list,
gotcha.
not the front page. Where you have to
Gotcha.
scroll for half an hour to see anything meaningful.
Okay. Hand washing. Oh God, this is
That is so
Yeah,
this is so
cracked me
dumb.
up.
Well,
Good.
I think that what they're also going to release is there's going to be a shower buddy app, and it's going to tell you to scrub behind your ears. It's going to tell you to go to the bathroom at regular intervals. It's going to tell you to call your
Okay.
mother.
Here's an even better feature. What about a phone that notifies you when someone coming towards you hasn't showered?
there you go. Where it
Now
sits there and
that
says,
is a
"Wash
feature.
your nasty behind."
And you just hear like a noise on your phone. It's like, oh, I gotta stay away from you, buddy.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Oh, that guy didn't wash his hands. Sorry, not shaking yours.
yeah. It's the next
Apple Watch
will have, like, a
automatically
little
detects hand
digital
washing.
nose.
So That's going to be weird. If it automatically does that and I can't turn that off, I'm going to be mad because if I'm washing my
No, you
hands,
could, a lot of this stuff. It looks like you could turn off in some of the things I was reading, but it's just interesting that they're using the sensors to detect this type of stuff. But like the dancing, I don't know how they're detecting that with some of the sensors there. Like, I just could be like falling down a flight of stairs and things like that.
and you're dancing.
Fall
Nice
fall
workout.
detection gets it mixed up. It's like, good job on your workout.
Good job on your workout. It's like, I need to call the hospital.
So basically, you could say translation on your watch too. That's actually pretty useful because you might not have your phone with you.
A lot of this stuff too, at least on the iPhone side, it sounds like a lot of that is offline too, which is fantastic. Because I was telling Ken about this translate stuff, and when I was in Japan, if you don't have a SIM card that supports cellular data, and it's going to be expensive and all this stuff, what you usually do is you rent something called a pocket Wi-Fi or a hotspot, and you get mixed results depending on the area that you're in. And sometimes you're just going to be in an area with no signal.
Yeah.
And that's what you need the Translate app. So it's going to be cool if this stuff has some of the offline capability I think they were hinting at in the keynote.
All right. Let's see.
I wonder if the Translate's going to require the phone though, because the watch doesn't necessarily have the most powerful.
Oh yeah, I would assume
I would
it
assume
either
so,
requires
yeah.
the phone, or you need the cellular model to talk to a home server.
At least the cellular model for sure.
So, question for you guys, because I know Siri shortcuts has been around a while. I have never used Siri shortcuts. Has anybody else used
So-
them?
Never.
I
I don't
actually
even know what they
use
were.
it. I actually use it in 2 instances, and I'll tell you exactly why. So I have these 2 light bulbs that use an older type of non-HomeKit thing, but I have a dedicated app for that. However, since they're not HomeKit, I can't say, hey Siri, can you turn off the lights in the hallway or whatever, because it doesn't know that because they're not HomeKit related. So what Siri shortcuts allows me to do is it allows me to say, hey Siri, blah, 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 and I type that in. I'm activating my watch here. I type that in, and I'm able to say, hey Siri, turn off the lights in the hallway, and then it's sort of like an automator thing where you say, oh, what app do you want to use? And I say the Philips Hue app or whatever, and I say, oh, what device do you want to select, and what the action you want to do. So you get very limited options, but now I could just say that, and it will do it without me having to go to the app, tap it and wait and all this stuff.
So it's basically automator on the watch.
A limited functionality of it that allows you to do a lot of things. Now the app has to support it, I believe, but most of the apps do because this has been out for a while. So it'd be cool to have this on the watch.
I've seen the demos, and I think you can get pretty elaborated with it. Like, you leave work, you say, I'm on my way home. Siri texts your wife.
Yes.
It turns on the AC, and it does a whole bunch of things. It doesn't make you coffee or dinner just yet, but it can do a whole bunch of stuff.
$1,500 coffee machine first.
Yeah, and it looks neat. I just don't have a use for it myself.
The only
I kind of
reason I
forgot it
used
existed.
So
Yeah, the only reason I used it is because I didn't have the capability built into the devices I had, so
Yeah.
this was a workaround.
Right.
So what about this? This I didn't hear anything about this. I mean, I must have not been paying attention when they said it, but safe weekly listening notifications. So it's automatically going to turn your volume down when it thinks that you're. And I think Dana.
I think these are optional.
I
'cause I
think
didn't hear
Dana
that
had
in-
it correct when he said this is Coddle OS now, because that's what this looks like.
Well, I've been getting the notifications for a while. When I mow the lawn, I wear earplugs, but my watch is still freaking out, and my phone is saying it was too loud. Your ears are about to explode. And I recall this going back to my first or second iPod Touch, where you had volume limits.
Oh
where
yeah.
even if you put the
Parental
slider
control.
up, you couldn't go past a certain point. I've always used that, but I don't know if anything new was introduced.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a lot of these little things like the reduce loud sounds and stuff like that, I'm sure there'll be options. Like it's not going to force you to turn that stuff on.
There's
You
going to be a
think.
weekly listening summary. So not only do you have a screen time summary, now you're going to a weekly hearing summary.
I mean,
I'd
it makes
turn off
sense
the
if
screen time.
it makes sense if you have these things that are gonna, run these little checks for you. I mean, look, if you're going to do that, give me a report so I can. What's the sense in telling me something is so loud 5 times a day if I can't go back and be like, when was that? You know, at least it's probably taking them like 15 minutes to program in. Might as well do it.
So Watch OS 7 is going to be compatible with Series 3, 4, and 5. So Steve, you're still in luck.
Yup. Just made it.
They're
Can't
still
remember what
selling
mine
the
is.
Series 3 brand new, actually.
Huh?
on the
They're
Apple
still-
I'm on Series
Store.
3 as well.
Well, they still sell the Series 3. I know we still sell them at our store. I mean, it's
Yeah, I'm
Yeah, I'm
guessing
looking
that's
on their
why
website
the
right now.
capability is there because they want to support the minimum that they use.
yeah. All right, so next up,
TVOS, I didn't find any new info on.
Yeah,
Now,
Did I
hold
miss
on,
it
we forgot
completely,
one
or?
thing on the phone. We forgot something on the phone with the EVs. You can start, if you have a BMW, you can start your car with your phone. You don't need keys
no,
anymore.
we
we
said that.
already covered
We
that.
covered that, Rocky. You missed it.
Oh, then I must have been one I had to help somebody. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I was.
Yeah,
We all
the
made
Apple
fun
boy
of
for a
it though.
second.
No one is taking it seriously.
Apple TV, they focus more on their programming than the OS and the
yeah,
hardware.
exactly. So I wasn't too.
I don't think there's really anything to update on it. I mean, it does 4K, it does Dolby Atmos, it does all these fancy things. I think they said there's going to be better AirPlay functionality, but that's really it.
Well, that and also you can use an Xbox controller with it now more fluently.
yeah, because some of that stuff was kind of there.
Oh yes, someone has mentioned they obviously talked about Foundation, the new TV series that's coming to Apple TV Plus.
Yeah, Beyond.
Which of course, for anyone who is a sci-fi fan and knows about the Asimov Foundation books, I mean, let's just hope they don't stuff it up.
You're talking about Apple now. Come on.
Yeah.
When have they ever not stuffed something up?
I've actually, my brother got an Apple device, so he had a free trial of the Apple Plus stuff. And there's some programs that I wouldn't go out of my way to watch if I had to pay for it, but since like I have access to it, I might pick up one of the few things here or there. There's a few like movies and stuff that might come out, but I think it's interesting that we don't really have any new Apple TV hardware or software to talk about, which is, I mean, it's still their hobby, I guess, but that's a little cringy and concerning.
Yeah. So next up this is probably the one we want to talk a lot about is Mac OS.
Now, wait, did we talk about the earpods?
Yeah, we
Yep.
talked about those
Yeah.
in the with the I think it was with the iPhone because it was
Okay.
yeah they.
How it's going to transition from device to device with seamlessly.
Oh yeah,
supposedly.
yeah, yeah.
We'll see how
Actually,
that
I
works.
like that. Hopefully, the AirPods I have now will do that because right now I have to actually select in Bluetooth mode on all my devices in order to get them to change from one to the other.
Yeah, I think the only feature you're going to miss out on is with the Pro AirPods. I think you get like some surround sound.
Yeah, I don't
dynamic
care about the
stuff, but
surround
everything
sound
else,
stuff,
I think.
but
No, yeah, I think everything else will work fine.
yeah. I just wanted to be able to switch from device to device automatically without me having to go into settings, Bluetooth, and hit connect.
Yeah, I'm out of luck because these are the Beats headphones I won at my old job, and I'm sure Apple doesn't care about them anymore. But they have the same Apple chip in it that a lot of their new headphones have.
I was gonna
so.
say, isn't Beats Apple?
Yeah, exactly. But it's like probably 2 years ago the model came out or whatever. I got them, so I would love that because right now I have the same thing. I have to hold down the button, disconnect the Bluetooth, connect it manually each time. But if I'm within like a breathing distance of my iPhone's like, "You want to connect the headphones? Come on, let's connect the headphones." Like, no, it's connected to the Mac. Leave it alone.
All right, so first thing off the bat, I want to talk about the name because Crazy Tech Reviews said, "Am I the only one who thinks that it's kind of a goofy name?" No, you're not the only one.
You're not the only one. I mean, keep in mind, of course, that here in Australia, this is a US landmark, and that's fine. It's a US company. I got no issue with that. But whereas I had heard of most of the landmarks they have used thus far, I'd never heard of.
I've never
Big
heard
Sur.
of Big Sur.
I'll show you my Big Sur.
I was gonna call it macOS Fat Boy, but my wife told me that's insensitive. Big Sur, Fat Boy. I thought it was catchy.
We're gonna have to put a
Even though
disclaimer
I
at the beginning
gained
of the
like
show
50
now, aren't we?
pounds during the
Yeah,
lockdown.
thanks, Jay. We're gonna have to edit it.
But yeah, I will not be using this, and I really feel, we discussed this a little on Discord, I really feel for the people working for AppleCare and phone support.
Oh
Are you
my
running
God.
Big Sur? Like, what?
Well, it's
Killing me,
like
Pat? It's not
well,
gonna work.
it's like when I talked to Colin Mister earlier. I'm like, it sounds like something extremely X-rated or a really bad Bruce Lee movie.
Now, how did this
I'm just
get
happy
past
to
all
call
the
it.
censors at Apple? I mean, sorry, but someone had to sit there and tell Tim Cook, this is not a good name.
No.
11.1 shall be Pikes Peak.
Yeah, I'm just gonna call it macOS 11 because that's the naming now. That's
Yeah.
the number. So we're macOS 10 lasted from 2001 to 2020, so it had a good 19-year run. But I guess
Did
we're
you
at
not
11.
find it interesting that at no stage did they say that during
No,
the?
yeah, I just saw it in a screenshot, and I think Jay and I texted at the same time.
Yeah.
We're like,
Yeah.
11, dude!
Yeah, finally.
But
But we were
not
talking
even a
about
mention.
that. We were talking
Before
about
we
that
go
last-
on to
last
that,
stream.
did anyone hear when they started the demo video? It chimed. Are
Yeah.
they bringing back the
Yes.
chime?
Now
Yes.
I got some information from Ken's stream.
Ooh.
It is in system preferences. You could turn the chime on and off.
That's probably the reason why in Catalina you could actually turn the chime on and off again.
Yeah. Yeah, so they actually
Since
give
when?
you a little
I could
UI.
turn it on
Well,
on
it
my
was it was
Catalina.
a command.
I
It
have
was a terminal.
I have it on my MacBook
Oh,
Pro.
you mean that terminal command?
Yeah, the one that
Yeah.
Right.
that DOS dude came
Yeah,
up
but
with.
now they made it easy. You to just an on-off thing, which is what it should have always been. If they wanted to turn it off,
Yeah.
let you do it in the software. But I'm happy it's back.
I mean,
I'm
the
excited
only thing I'm
Me
probably
too.
going to run Big Sur on is probably my MacBook Pro. Yeah.
It
I'm
just
gonna
sounds
giggle
so
every time you
silly.
say it. I'm gonna
Hey,
run Big Sur
hey,
on my Mac.
I got the new name for it. It's the BS software.
Yes, that works.
macOS BS.
There we
okay?
go.
Yeah.
I'm all for that.
Start your T-shirt printing now.
Yeah. Okay,
My
MacJack has
Mac
coined
Air
that
is
phrase,
running
Mac
Big
OS
Sur.
BS.
Can it handle that?
I don't know, that Mac Pro, I mean,
It's just
might be a little
bizarre.
more than it can handle.
Yeah.
Mojave, Catalina, High Sierra.
Yeah.
At least it doesn't sound like you're calling someone fat.
Okay.
Bring back the
so,
cats. Big cat.
first off
Hello,
the
Big
bat,
Sur.
updated menu bar. Anybody care about that?
I mean, I like that you could customize the things now. I mean, it used to be like a hidden secret. You had to hold down command to move them around. At least they're letting you customize some of these things. Yes, it has a very control center vibe to it, but I mean, at least they give you the option there. It's nice to see something's changing.
And the floating dock.
Nope.
Sorry, but the dock has rounded corners now.
Apart
Yeah.
from the chime and
That's-
making copious amounts of fun at the name, I don't care about anything else I saw.
I just want
I
to know
agree.
how that dock is going to look with 160 items.
You're gonna tell us, aren't you?
Well, he's got to have a machine that can run it, though.
I think
Yeah.
that the only thing I'd like now, I realize what they're showing off is like the beta preview, and if things will be refined as this is released and all that stuff. But I think the change of actually having some depth and some shadows on these icons again is nice, because everything was so flat and everything that I was very fearful that they were just gonna pull an iOS 7 and make everything like, what is that icon supposed to be? So my only concern, and I know this is one of the things that we'll get to, is some of the apps, they're all rounded corners and the sidebars are redesigned and everything, and they spend so much time to look at the new glyphs and icons and things. I just hope that there's still an option to put the little titles or descriptions under those buttons, because sometimes, no matter how pretty that button looks, it means nothing to me, and I have no idea what it does, and I don't want to hover my mouse over it for 10 seconds and be like, is that? Oh no, I don't want that one. Just give me the titles, give me an option to do it. Let me, as an old man, understand what this button does.
Yeah. I agree. Let's see. Updated sounds. Who cares about that?
I mean, of course, it really does just look like our iOS now.
Yeah.
The new operating
Yeah.
system.
And
I mean, they're just playing catch up, because there's so many things on messages that, like the notifications, the sounds of the confetti and all this stuff that the Mac just didn't have. And yes, it's all these little minor things, but it's like, I think this is like playing catch up after they did all these under the hood changes for Catalina.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. This feels like a snow leopard to a leopard to me.
I lost my right to complain about how crappy iMessage is and all that because I'm still on Mojave. So
yeah. I mean, I'm on Catalina only because I have to run Catalina because of my graphics card. Because the graphics
Yes,
card.
I'm on
you were
Ice,
on
dude.
Catalina before you had that graphics
No, no,
card.
no. No, I was not. I actually was not. I had Mojave running.
Mm.
I had Catalina on my Mac Pro because it could run it natively. My MacBook Pro, but my Mac Pro, I was running Mojave up until I got that new graphics card.
Mm.
So
I think Big Sur is going to do some fun stuff with the battery charging as well for laptops. Did we hear anything about that in the keynote?
I'm
I didn't
looking
hear
at
anything
some of the
about
stuff
that.
here.
It's
Notification
giving
center.
you, they're basically giving you the control center in your notification or whatever on Mac OS. Instead of having it split up with little icons at the top, now you got a whole control center. It's a nice feature. It's nice, but I'm not super impressed by it personally.
It's just
Yeah, I
a
think-
desktop version of iOS.
Well,
Yeah, I think Mike hit it on the head there. They're getting a lot of these little nice to have things from iOS, and they're putting them in the Mac OS, which is fine by me. I'm not going to use the darn thing. So
Well, if you go down and you read the entire list of features, it almost reads identical to the iOS one.
which is I'm glad that has feature parity, because it makes people crazy if you do something on the iPad, then you go to do on the Mac. It's like, well, there's a one tap process for this, and on the Mac I gotta open it in this, I gotta rotate this, I gotta tap that, I gotta copy this, So
There's
see if
still
that-
no touchscreen MacBook.
well, that's we'll get to that when we get to the next topic. I have something to say about that.
but I'm going through a lot of the stuff here, and you're right. A lot of this looks like iOS.
Yeah, it's just a
Stuff.
rehash of the iOS list.
Yeah.
It
really.
is.
I'm
Let's
looking,
get to
I
the
was
meat of
hoping
this.
for the next 10.6 Snow Leopard.
So,
Take everything we got, redo it properly, and add a few features.
and I
I
noticed that.
truthfully think all they did was they took the iOS, modified it to run on a desktop platform at higher resolutions, and it might have a couple other odds and ends. And of course, they had to retain support for older software, which is what Rosetta and the
Yeah,
Universal,
Rosetta 2.
with the Rosetta 2 and the Universal
Binary too.
code is.
Bringing
Yeah.
back those names from the PowerPC days.
But
Mm.
I've used it for about an hour, and I can safely say it is very glitchy and buggy right now.
Of
It
course.
freezes about everything you click on.
Are you going to be one of those Mac rumors guys that puts it on their primary machine over their primary partition? They're like, oh, it crashed, I lost all my data. Oh.
No, I stuck it
I
on
know,
my
I know.
2014 Mini. And some shameless self-promotion, I actually released a video about 30 minutes or so before the Ken and Steve video, which has been getting 1,000 views an hour.
Congratulations.
If you guys want to check it out and see how it looks and how unstable it is right now, it's about 10 minutes long, and it's a fun time. If you want to
10
check it out
minutes?
after the live stream, go check it out. It's a
Okay,
great video.
if you look at what I have up now on there, it shows all the different hardware that Mac OS BS will run on.
See if it can handle Big Sur.
Yeah.
See, like I said, the only computer here that's kind of surprising it's not on here is the 2012 Mac Mini, because the 2012 and the 2014 are quite close.
I'm going to guess it's
I'm
a
not
graphic.
too
It's a
shocked.
funny
The
thing
graphics card
is-
sucks.
I think it's
Well,
graphics.
Here's the
All-
thing, though, is I don't see why, and this is the thing that a lot of people bitched about Catalina, why Catalina wasn't able to run on the older Mac Pro, the CMPs. Because I'm willing to bet you that these CMPs could still probably run Big Sur no problem.
Yeah. But the funny thing is, all of the Macs they dropped had HD 4000 graphics in them.
That's what
But
I.
the Mac
that's what I
Pro,
thought. That
you
was
could
about
put
the
your
only
own
difference.
graphics card in it. You know?
Right.
They just aged those out.
Yeah.
But the
Yeah,
HD
they're not going to
4000
tell you could run it on a 2012 with this special graphics card. We'll figure
They-
that out.
Yeah.
But the HD 4000 Kex, I found out Mac Rumors is still on Big Sur. It's just not,
Not
they don't
utilized.
support it. Yeah.
See, that's
Colin will
kind
figure
of
that
what
out.
I was thinking
I
too,
heard
Greg,
some-
because that was about the only difference I noticed specification-wise between the 2012 and 2014 Mac Minis was the 2014 uses the HD 5000 and the 2012 uses the HD 4000.
They also killed off the MacBook Pros that had HD 4000 graphics in them, even if they had the NVIDIA chips that are actually supported. They support the NVIDIA chips, but they don't support the HD 4000.
I don't know, maybe, I don't know, it'd be interesting to try to run it on a machine that has HD 4000 to see if there's a reason.
I think it's going to run totally fine.
It probably will, but it'd just be interesting to see.
Yeah.
Well, here's another thing.
I'm sure like the one of the 1,000 layers of transparency is maybe not as fast as it is on the 5,000 graphics series, and that's why they cut it.
Yeah.
Well, someone just mentioned DOS Dude 1 to the rescue. I'm wondering also OpenCore, because you don't need the DOS Dude patcher to run Catalina on unsupported machines on Mac Pros. Now, OpenCore is basically made for Mac Pros, CMPs. It's not really made for iMacs or anything like that has, your built-in display, because those will have Apple Flash graphics cards that you can boot from. Whereas the CMPs, you get different graphics cards that are not Apple flashed, and therefore you need a boot screen. So I'm wondering if BS will run on OpenCore.
Time will tell, I guess.
Yeah.
I probably will not test it. Are we still streaming? Because I just saw my thing just do a little circle thing there.
Looks like we're still streaming.
But I think I'm going to stick with Catalina. I think that's probably going to be my last version on this CMP. And I'll update it as far as it'll go, because I'm going to get at least probably 2 to 3 more years of updates at least before they finally, toss it in the trash, But
unless you want to go with a bigger, better graphics card again.
No, I think the graphics card was not the problem. It's this because I could probably run this 5700 using BS, not a problem. I think it's just going to be the CPU architecture, because when as we're going to discuss here in a little bit, when they switch over their hardware, it's going to suck for everything else.
Well, let's talk about it now. Come on.
Yeah, come on.
All right.
I would say we might as well discuss the hardware changes, because the software changes are very uninteresting.
Yes. All right.
Underwhelming. Yeah.
So, hardware. I don't have anything to show on this, but we were wrong. Because somebody in our chat...
The source was wrong.
Somebody in our chat, Bob, told us some...
He done fooled us.
Well, I don't think it's his fault, because he told me that he found out at 1 a.m. that Apple was not going with the...
1 a.m.
Yeah, 1 a.m. this morning, that Apple was not going to go with the AMD processors, and that he has till Wednesday to turn in his 2 Mac Pros that he has with AMD processors in them.
Yeah, Apple always plays it close to the chest, and they always look like they have a few lanes to go into here. So it wouldn't surprise me if that was a decision that they made, but I think the reason why I was so convincing to myself that even if they did switch to ARM, it would be in a coprocessor form and all this stuff, is because we just went through a transition. To me, what seems like it was not, as long ago as it was.
It's very, very long ago in the history of Apple.
I know,
now.
but it's like, all the pros and the benefits were, okay, compatibility with, Windows and all this stuff. And it's like, okay, great. And now it seems like Apple's doing it again, but there's benefits to be had this time around. And of course, it's completely within Apple's walled garden now. So, and that's what they wanted to be. I'm probably 20 years ago, they always wanted to be in charge of all this stuff.
Apple were always, Apple were kind of dependent on sort of third-party providers. They were providing the chips. I mean, with the PowerPCs, they weren't keeping up. And the PowerPCs weren't fast enough, and so that was when they made. I mean, he talked about them having done this transition before, but in actual fact, they've done it. Well, they did the transition from the the 68,000 chips, 68K chips to the PowerPC, the transition from PowerPC to Intel, and to some extent you could even say there was a transition from Apple II to Mac. But in the instance of the PowerPC to Intel, this was about them wanting to stay in the game in terms of speed and stuff like that. And obviously the advantage of Intel was that you get their R&D, you get the, sort of the fact that they're used in so many different computers. And then of course, Intel's dropped the ball, and Apple clearly don't want to make the same mistake with another provider. I guess they now see themselves as being big enough, having enough money, having enough of their own R&D that they can stay competitive, making their own chips without being let down by a third-party provider.
Sure, because they've done it since for how many years they've done it with the iPhone. And
I mean, it's not. These chips aren't new. I mean, they're basically using. They're using the same architecture they've been using since 2012 in the iPad, or is it 2010? And the iPad, the iPhone, and it is a good architecture, but I don't have any experience with it on a bigger device.
Well, I think it's going to be.
But if you guys know anything about the ARM processor, the original ARM processor was designed for a desktop computer.
The Acorn.
Yeah, it was the Acorn Archimedes.
And it was in these too.
The only reason I was hoping they would switch to AMD instead of ARM is because it would mean, older software would continue to work, most likely. Yep. Now, they say it's going to be 2 years for the transition. We'll keep supporting Intel for a number of years.
Yeah.
But, people that just bought a $50,000 Mac Pro with the expectancy to use it for the next decade,
yeah,
that might not happen.
Well, remember, they did the same thing with the G5 Quad.
That's what I was just going to say, Greg. This is reminiscent of when they announced the G5. Or they had the G5, they had the quad cores, and then almost immediately after, we're not going to go with PowerPC anymore. We're changing over to Intel, and now they're changing back over to RISC architecture.
I think that was the same keynote. They were talking about, here's the new G5 quad. And we're going in Intel.
And hopefully they learned from their mistakes. That's all I'm hoping.
They claim they did, but what's interesting is they use this, like some of the same exact stuff. Like what Greg was saying is, they said, we have some great Intel stuff coming out in the future. Jobs said the same thing about great PowerPC stuff. They said this transition is going to be two years. They said something similar to that with the PowerPC transition, but it took them 13 months.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was that. And I think, as I said on Ken's show, not to repeat myself too much, but I think that it's very telling that when they did the transition from PowerPC to Intel, the developer kit was in a Mac Pro, a G5 case with the Intel Pentium 4 chipset and all that stuff. You had PCI slots, you had all this stuff there. But now the developer kit is a Mac Mini. And it's like, the memory, maybe it's not soldered on, who knows? But it's like, you got this little kit thing now. And okay, that's all cool and all, but just think of that logically of how they've gone from this whole transition of these huge desktop towers. And now it's like, well, this little Mac Mini is fine enough for you to do your development work on. And, to Jay's point about these, people who just bought a 60 grand Mac Pro setup and everything, I'm like, yeah, that stings, but I'm very curious because if they follow the same logic they did with the previous transition, remember that the Pro Tower was the one that came out last. So if they come out with that Pro Tower last, which they probably will, they'll probably come out with some laptops and iMacs first or whatever, or Mac Minis or whatever. I'm very curious is there an upgrade path to people who bought this Mac Pro? Because those processor cards, maybe, now, hear me out. Apple wants you to buy brand new hardware, yes. But what if they made you an almost brand new enough chip that you could shove in there for 20 grand? Maybe you'd buy it. Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, but I'm also interested in how, these processors are so small. How many could they shove into a tower like that?
Well, maybe that's not going to be the last Mac to be updated. I mean, when they went from PowerPC to Intel, there were capable Intel replacements for a G5.
Yes.
Intel was pretty the G5 was fast, one of the fastest machines out there, but there were Intel options they could have switched to. and that was a dual core.
Yeah.
And now,
Yeah, so
what
the
are
first
we
one-
talking about now? We got AMDs with up to 20-something cores, and it's insane. There's so many things they can switch to. Maybe they're not going to wait at all. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I mean,
I think the Mac Pro will probably be the last machine. I think that's the one they're going to stretch out the longest, and it's probably because it was one that was just released.
Yeah.
At least
Yeah,
I would hope so.
Well, here's the
if
thing.
they follow the same schedule, it'll be MacBook Pro, iMac, Mac Mini, MacBook Pro 17-inch, MacBook Plastic, 13-inch one. They're not going to do an Xserve, unfortunately, and then they'll do the Mac Pro.
Well, here's
Yeah,
the thing too:
and-
is eBuy05 said Hackintosh just had a fun run with Intel. I think one of the this is probably one of the biggest reasons that Apple is going to their own architectures, because now Hackintoshes will be no more. You will not be able to see Hackintosh in a couple of years.
Yeah. And you won't be
yeah,
getting
I mean-
Windows either.
Yeah,
Yeah.
At least not natively.
exactly.
there's
and that's
You can still emulate it, but you're not going to be able to run it natively.
and that's
like
going to be
you
a
can
problem
now.
with me right now, because I use it to run my racing software, and I can't. I won't be able to do that. So
Well, that's going to be a problem
Well,
with a lot
you
of
still
people.
will
Yeah.
with that.
I'm going to have to get
exactly.
another.
And your hardware is still pretty capable. It's not like you're
No,
on
no,
a
no.
slow machine or anything.
No, my Mac,
Yeah.
my Mac Pro is going to be capable of running Windows for a long time. Okay, not a problem
Yeah.
there. But if I ever decide I want to go to a newer machine, let's say I hit the lottery and I want to buy an ARM-based Mac Pro, I'm not going to be able to run Windows on that. So, in order for me to do my racing simulation, I am going to have to buy I hate to say this, and it's going to make me puke, a PC. Yeah. In order to do that. Okay.
Well, I mean, that's the cost-effective option. Why would you pay like $3,000 for a Mac that's going to emulate something that the dedicated hardware could do easily?
That's
That
what
makes perfect
that's what I'm
sense.
saying. That's what I'm saying. I'm going to have two separate machines. Right now, I have one machine that could do both. Okay.
I think that's not going to be the case. I think because if you actually look at the history, Apple's just catching up with everybody else. Windows has had an ARM version of Windows since Windows.
Oh, that's right.
And it
Yeah.
sucked.
Yeah.
And it sucked.
Yeah, and Linux has an ARM-based version as well. There's still an ARM-based version of Windows, so it's not. I think that it's just going to be a transition. Windows was already there. Now Apple's running ARM, and I think
Yeah.
it'll just be a matter of time and enough people complaining in the professional industry that they're going to allow the ARM-based version of Windows to run on it.
I think
it's gonna
Apple's
be
in
what
a
you
unique in a unique position here, because what Rocky mentioned is an excellent point. You have thousands of millions of older Windows apps that these IT people depend on, let's say 32-bit apps or 64-bit apps or whatever, that they use for specific hardware or drivers in these big IT industries or whatever they're doing to run equipment or whatever. That stuff is not going to make the jump to ARM. And I think that's where Microsoft is struggling, because Apple could go and say, oh, you know what? We've done this before. Boom, let's switch. Windows has always been, for more or less, on that same architecture. Yes, there's been 64-bit and all these other improvements and stuff like that. But you know what? It's like that's going to be much more difficult for them to pull off than Apple. Apple is willing to bite the bullet and say, we're just going to do this. It's going to suck for a bit, but we've been through this before. And, honestly, the game that they were running, it was being emulated. It wasn't the best, but like for beta stuff, that to me is much better than the Rosetta that we experienced from PowerPC to Intel, where you had the G4 anti-Velec engine or whatever it was called, that those instruction sets weren't even emulated or supported. I think we're in a better state. I'm super curious to see exactly how that stuff actually works. And we're only like 6 months away from like the first piece of hardware they're going to show off. So I'm excited to see what that's actually going to do, and I'm very curious to see how well it pulls it off.
From a future-proofing perspective, I'm excited about this. I hope they can pull it off, and I hope they don't become what they're trying to avoid here, where Intel is working in the 6-7 gigahertz, AMD is on the 35 gigahertz, and Apple is stuck on 4 gigahertz or something like that. Hopefully they can pull it off.
Well, remember, Apple's done stuff like that before when they were running 400 megahertz. Intel is running at gigahertz.
Yeah, well, our pipeline is shorter. I know the spiel, but at some point that
Megahertz,
pipeline
man.
is just not going to keep up. I hope they can pull it off. For future investments, cool. If they can make it work, awesome. For my current hardware, bummer. At some point, like the end, if I want to keep upgrading and keep up with stuff, the end is now in sight. Now, I could stick with Mojave forever and Photoshop CS6 and all that stuff. No problem. But, you know, people that do actual work with these machines, they need the latest software. They need better OS support. I can see how they can probably be a little bit irked right now. They just finished unboxing their Mac Pro, and the end of the supported life is already in sight. I
mean,
get it.
With PowerPC, you had, Leopard, and that was the last release.
Yeah.
So, the first Intel Macs came with a version of Tiger on it, and then after that was Leopard. So I hope that we get at least 2 OS releases. We get BS, and then after that we get whatever, and then after that we get one more. I hope that we at least get 2 for the Intel machines, because you have some very capable hardware that's still out there that's able to perform it. And yes, you're probably not going to have all the bells and whistles or whatever, and that's fine, but at least support those machines for a little while longer. I just hope that they've learned their lesson from cutting off the support.
They said they would.
They said they would.
You
Okay,
know,
but
will they?
here's Apple's
said
here's
years to
Apple's
come.
end game. Apple's end game is to sell more hardware. And what's the best way to sell more hardware? You cut off support for the older stuff. Pretty much, even DOS Dude can't even make it run on, an Intel machine anymore. So guess what's going to happen? People are going to have to start buying the ARM-based Macs, and they're going to be happy selling those.
Well, you got these stubborn people like us that are just going to stick with what we got.
And
You just
you're right.
get about 20 Raspberry Pis and duct tape them together. Those have ARM chips.
There you
I
go.
think we'll be okay.
There you
Or if anything, I'll just take the leap back to Windows.
No.
I mean, I'll still have my Intel Macs. They'll just be running Windows.
That's pretty much what we're going to have to do, because Windows actually still supports these older Macs,
And Linux
All
does too.
of them.
So it's not like these computers are become worthless or anything. So
No, and that's one of the
I
first
don't-
posts I saw on one of the Facebook groups. Like, oh, now my Mac is already dead. Said no, just like you can use a Macintosh SE after Bruce or Steve is done recapping it, you can use it with age-appropriate operating system and software for the rest of your life. No one is forcing you to upgrade, but there's people, the people that spend 50, 60 grand on these things probably already earned that money back from the kind of work they're doing with it. So, obsolete is just...
if you're in need of a Mac now, I would say look for a refurb deal, look for a used deal. Don't go buy a brand new one, especially because we're only 6 months away apparently from their first product announcement or release. Who knows how long it's going to take them to actually ship.
I'm wondering if October we're going to see more hardware, because I know the new iPhones are going to be out then, probably new iPads, probably the new iMacs that were rumored to come out that's supposed to look like, the what do you call it, the reference or the monitors that they have, the HDR monitors.
I don't know. That came from our same source.
For
For future reference, anyone watching this, if you are an insider, you got the inside scoop, you want to become our source and leak us classified stuff, that's fine. We're gonna need some proof before we accept.
Yes. Next time we want proof. We
PayPal
want
us all
pictures.
at.
We want
I
pictures
don't,
and
think,
video.
I don't even think he's still here because I haven't seen him in the chat for a while.
There is one thing that we haven't discussed about the new ARM that is important, because it's not going to trickle down to us, and I think it also explains where Apple was going with the price of the iPads, with the price of the iPhones. So they kept going up. They kept having the old model there at the same price point, not dropping it. Okay, they were planning to release ARM as their OS. I mean, their processor. If you look at it, they were running on those demo systems. They were all running an iPad CPU, straight up. It was a full-blown Mac running an iPad. And basically what's going to happen is, instead of passing the savings of them having an ARM chip, which is going to be drastically cheaper, no royalties, all this other gobbledygook that's eating up the pipeline of cost, they're just going to have all that savings, and they're not going to pass it on to us. These are
They're
going to
not
cost
dropping the
more.
price. No,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
no.
No, they're going to raise the price because of all the
Can
R&D.
you
they're putting in.
imagine? And none of you can even say this with a straight face. I bet you. You're gonna say Apple is going to significantly reduce cost in production, and they're gonna make it cheaper for us. See? You can't even say it. It's never gonna happen.
Yeah, I'll eat my hat when that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey,
Being able to launch iPad and iPhone
Yeah.
apps on the Mac will be nice, though.
Yes. Mark Rudy?
But they could have done
Finally
that.
play Candy Crush on there.
But they could have done that the way Steve was suggesting, that our little rumor that we had, having a coprocessor as an ARM, whereas having the main processor be AMD. They
Yeah.
Now,
Guys.
I'm sorry, Grudy. You go
No.
first.
Mark Sokolovsky, I never can say his last name. He just posted a low-end Mac that, with the beta, his 2018 MacBook Pro automatically had the chime re-enabled.
Nice.
Okay.
I'm all for that.
What I'm thinking is, we haven't seen the new Intel machines that have come out yet. How much does it actually cost to put one of those chips somewhere? I'm not saying they would do it. It's a very un-Apple-like thing for them to do it. It would be cool if, let's say, the next generation of iMacs that came out had an ARM chip just sitting there on a daughter card or whatever. They won't do it, but it would be a nice future-proof kind of thing. Like, oh, hey, here you go. Now they're not going to do that, but it's just in a pipe dream. It'll be.
I mean, we know that, I don't know enough about this, but we know that an ARM chip cannot emulate Intel code. Can an Intel chip emulate ARM code?
They
Not
face
really.
the same difficulties.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to say
Both ways.
it's very difficult for a RISC processor to emulate anything but a RISC processor.
Right.
We're-
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, this is a RISC processor. This is the same sort of architecture as the PowerPC.
did
And
anybody
we
see
had
the demo
same
that?
exact problem back then.
Did anybody see the
Hey.
demo that they were playing on the Mac Pro there, the Tomb whatever?
Yeah, Tomb Raider.
Tomb
Yeah.
Raider.
Yeah.
Did
Hey,
not run great.
It did not run great. It
No.
was
I
it was
went back-
laggy. It was.
I went back
It
and
was.
watched it. It was not as bad until you get the splash in the water that you saw it
Yeah.
take
No,
a
it
frame.
was
That's the
down.
point where you
laggy
really
before
notice
then.
it.
By the way,
They should have left that out.
Martin Lowe just got OpenCore to work with Big Sur.
So it does.
Yeah, I
work.
saw he
yeah?
was testing it before we went live.
He
Going
got
back
it
to what
completely
Mike was
functional.
saying, that RISC are hard to emulate, Intel chipsets and instructions. This is exactly why. You had connected to do the virtual PC stuff. You had all that going on, and the performance was So
Yeah, I'm going to say
Eh,
it's lackluster
virtual
at
PC was
best, to be honest.
garbage.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. So
Well, this is
I
in
remember.
fact, and Steve, you know about this is why back in the 90s that Apple was releasing basically PCs on interface cards, because
Yep.
you can't make a RISC processor emulate the CISC architecture.
Well, here's a
that's
guy.
that's why we had the slew of PC compatible cards back in the 90s.
Wouldn't
Yeah,
Because that
be
was the only way
awesome,
you could
though?
do it.
Well, Dale McLaughlin in the chat here says Microsoft has had problems with emulating x86 on their ARM tablets.
Yeah.
Their ARM tablets were crap, and that's the reason why I was telling you that, Grudy, when you said about they do make an ARM tablet, but their ARM tablets did not sell very well because they were garbage.
they've never sold a non-OEM version of their ARM software
Yeah.
yet.
Exactly.
So eventually they may do that. But what I think will be interesting is, what is stopping someone from doing what Mike said and making a PCI Express ARM on a PC card?
I think I think in the future, and I don't know how it's going to work, but it wouldn't surprise me if somebody comes out with a PCI Express card similar to the old PC compatibility cards.
That would be awesome. And then some
Because,
kind of VMware or Parallels to
Yeah.
do the work.
These days, today more than it was 15, 20 years ago, it's more common for people with Macs to need Windows.
Yeah.
Because there's things you can't do on a
Oh,
Mac.
And
There-
some
I don't know.
companies take it for
Jay never
granted.
uses the
Aren't
Windows
made
stuff.
for.
No, well, no, Jay does for very specific
Oh, that's
purposes.
right. He
once in a while.
does for his
And,
does.
and
for
I
Wait a
have to
minute, but he
tell you-
does.
monitoring
I
I
software.
still
right?
haven't flashed that SMC because I refuse to run Windows.
But you have to think of it this way too. Some companies are using that as a crutch. A lot of companies, you go to their website and they'll say, "Oh, there's not a Mac version, but download Parallels or download Boot Camp, and then here's what you do."
Yeah.
And it's because they're too lazy to develop the software or whatever for the Mac, or they don't have enough resources to do that, or whatever.
I
or
think
an
it's
older
more.
product.
I don't think it's so much resource. I think it's more demand. I mean,
That's true because
Microsoft,
there was
Microsoft
such a
has
lower user base.
96% of the operating system market cornered, and so therefore, what are you going to write software for? Are you going to write software for 4% of the population, or for 96% of the population? You know, and you got weird holdouts like the 6 of us or the 7 of us, if Dana was here, that just don't want to run Windows. I mean, I run Parallels. I run Parallels on my computers because I have one piece of software I got to use Windows
Now,
for.
I'd be very interested to see. Yes, it will probably not emulate too well, but you have to think that these processors, the little chip that's in your iPhone, that it gets pretty warm, but you have to think you put 2, maybe 4 of those in a professional desktop. I would hope that it could emulate pretty quick an x86 platform or something like that. You have so much overhead, of course, that everything has to transfer and process and emulate and all that stuff.
Yeah.
If you shove enough gasoline in that engine, you might get it to go a bit faster.
Well, that's and you got a point there. I mean, back in, let's say, the G5 days when we were trying to run, what the hell was it? Soft Windows or
Connectix Virtual PC.
Virtual PC. Thank you.
Virtual PC.
Yeah, I mean, it ran. Yeah.
Yeah.
But those IBM G5 chips were, oh my God, those things are freaking.
But they're cramming so many cores into these things. You got your high performance cores, you got your low performance cores. Who's to say they're not going to squeeze in 4 or 8 virtualization cores?
Yeah,
only used for translating
correct
that
me
kind
if
of
I'm
stuff.
wrong, Jay, but doesn't your phone have 6 cores?
I have no idea.
Okay.
Something like that.
Because
But
if I remember it, my iPhone 6S has a quad-core processor.
Now you're gonna make me look it up, aren't you?
I wouldn't be surprised because they were so vague when they mentioned the emulation and the virtualization. They really went by very quick when they mentioned it.
Well,
I think half of it is that it's very early. They're probably still hard at work trying to figure out the limitations and stuff. And I think the other half of it is they're trying to see. Remember, the developer system is using an A12 chip. Who knows? Maybe the A14 or A15 chip, like Jay said, maybe it has some cores dedicated for translation. Who knows? Maybe that's why they're not announcing it. It wouldn't be beyond Apple to do that.
Yeah,
and yes,
true.
my phone has 6 cores, 2 high performance, 4 high efficiency.
So you figure if you can shove 6 cores into an iPhone, and you have an iPhone 11, right? Or 10?
No, XS.
Yeah, it's the same as mine. It's a A12.
So you figure that processor is that big maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking microscopic compared to like an Intel Xeon chip. I mean, it would be nothing for them to shove 6 of those into an iMac, or even hell, you could shove 6 of those into a Mac Mini.
Well, here's the thing too: is the same processor that's in our phones right here, Jay, is what they were showing on the demo, the A12 Bionic.
Yeah, the A12. They were running the A12X, but
that's the one they probably have the most experience with. It's not, it's tried and true, whatever. I'd be very interested to see the next generation or the generation after that.
I think it would be awesome if. I mean, they're probably not going to go with a PCI card because there's just not enough models of Mac that have PCI slots. But what if it's possible to do that through eGPU? If Thunderbolt is fast enough to run a processor externally, that would be awesome.
Well,
I mean,
if
just
you
think
really
of it.
Think about it. USB 3 is fast enough to run an external processor.
Yeah.
At least enough to run Windows.
Yeah. I mean, think of it this way. You have a huge installed base of Intel users using, let's say, a 2013 Mac Pro and upwards. I'm sure newer technology or one of these companies is going to come up with a way, even if it's like a little, like, remember the Elgato USB H.264 encoding stick?
Yeah.
It's going to be like that with an ARM chip on it. Now, the software side of things, they're going to have to play ball with Apple to figure that out. But I don't think it's above the realm of reality here.
No, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I think eventually somebody's going to figure something out.
I think it's going to be Bruce.
Speaking of me, my apologies. I am going to have to take off, guys. I'm sorry we
No
have
worries.
run over time.
Yeah,
it
we
is,
have
it
run
is
over
my
our
work
time.
day here. So,
That's fine.
so enjoy the rest of the show, guys. I will catch up with you soon.
See you, Bruce.
Bye
Thanks,
all.
Bruce.
See you, Bruce.
So, yeah, well, I guess we'll find out the
We lost the audio. Shouldn't have. Well, you can hear me, but what about you guys now? Ah. Hold on, let me... Nope. All right. Can you guys hear us now? Well, hold on. Let's give it a second or two. That's weird. Why did it go out when Bruce left? This is Skype issues. No, I'm actually got everyone. Huh? Because I show everybody's bars moving, so that's what's weird. Yeah, who owns Skype? I'm blaming Skype only because when Bruce left, I mean, I'm still showing everybody's audio fine on here, but. All right, guys. So we want to go ahead and just close it out because we're way over time. All right. Yeah. So, anyways, guys. Yeah, Apple's sabotaging us. Since you guys can only hear me, which is weird because I'm going through the Skype channel as well, which is weird, but I don't understand why you can't hear them. We're going to go ahead and end the show here, but make sure you hit the like and subscribe button. Make sure you actually go to episode number 69. We're still doing that giveaway. So, yeah, you're laughing, Jay, but yes. Make sure you go to that episode. Make sure you sign up for the giveaway. We're about 740 something subscribers now, so we're getting close. Yeah, we're getting up there. Yeah, giveaway at 1,000. The giveaway is basically a MacBook, a 2008 MacBook, the white one, and then not Steve. Rocky is giving away a Steam gift card, and also I think Grudy is giving away something as well, an iPod Mini. Okay, so anyways, guys, hope you like the stream. Hopefully we'll figure out why the audio is acting weird like that. That's strange. I even turned him off completely. Huh? Oh yeah, Discord. Make sure. Yeah. Here, I'll go ahead and pull the link up here, guys. So there you go. Discord, make sure you come up there and check with us. But it's not my fault, Mike. Sorry that you guys can't talk. I turned all you guys off, so there you go. All right, can you guys hear them now? Yeah, it's still my fault. Yeah. Anyways, guys, make sure you like and subscribe, and make sure you guys follow us on Twitter. I think Steve has a Twitter account. We have a Facebook account. We have all kind of stuff. So you guys go and check us out. We'll catch you guys later. Have a good night. Let's see. Hold on. I got to get I wasn't planning this, but all right. See you guys later.